All right, this is going to be the last video that I do on this. Um, I'm tired of talking about it. Uh, People believe what they believe and impervious to anything but that. And I've learned that that's just as bad, well, maybe not just as bad, but almost as bad on the left as it is on the right. That comment is on the first video that I did yesterday about Taylor Lorenz's article about a dark money group secretly paying Democratic creators on social media. This has already been debunked. So a couple things that I've learned over the last 36 or so hours. People hear what they want to hear. People do not hear what they do not want to hear. People's listening comprehension is almost non-existent. It's completely overshadowed by their confirmation bias or their desire therefore. When people do read, their reading comprehension is in a similar state to their listening comprehension, which is to say almost non-existent. There have been some response videos from some larger creators today, most of which I've watched and most of which I thought were valuable and added important context. But in the reading comprehension category, a couple of those large creators had been given an opportunity to respond to the article that was being written and have those responses included in the article. And those folks declined to comment, which a big part of the article was that at the time the article was written, there were contractual restrictions preventing people from commenting about these relationships, which indicated that people had signed contracts. I would imagine that people were released in one form or another from those contractual obligations once the article was published. But again, this has already been debunked. In Taylor Lorenz's article, she had access to chat and text conversations between a lot of these creators and quoted from those chat and text transcripts. She had a copy of she had a copy of the contract that was presented to a lot of these creators, and she quoted from that contract. And so this is the perfect example of what I'm talking about with confirmation bias, listening comprehension, reading comprehension. And what do we always talk about on the left? What do we always talk about on the left that we say is completely lacking among Trump supporters? Critical thinking. Critical thinking. Yeah. So, I've I've discussed my opinions on this situation as much as I'm going to. I read the article and I felt that it was important for me to make separate videos saying that I am not a journalist, I am not a reporter, I have no training in those areas. I've never worked as a journalist or a reporter, and I don't put myself out there as a journalist or a reporter. I just comment on things based on my life experience and based on my professional experience and based on my political beliefs. Also, I've said in at least two videos that I do not now, nor have I ever, been paid by any outside individual or entity to create content or to create specific content, nor have I ever agreed to restrictions on my content or getting talking points for my content from any outside person or agency. Um, it's been a pretty disheartening 36 hours for me because, again, my own opinion, my belief, how I create content, how I've created content in the past, and how I will create content moving forward. Things like integrity, openness, disclosure of those kinds of things, honesty in all things are extremely important to me. And I learned from my comments today that those things are not important to a large majority of the people who commented on those videos. I understand the state that this country is in probably better than most people do because I am immersed in it. And I've been an attorney for almost 27 years. And and I understand also clearly, plainly, the tactics of the right. Again, I have no problem whatsoever with creators getting paid to create content. None. Zero. It's my belief that if a creator is getting paid to create content, those terms, who's paying and where that funding comes from for political content should be disclosed. And an attorney representing Chorus said in a Zoom call, they are specifically setting up this arrangement the way that they are to sidestep FEC regulations so that these creators' names will not appear in FEC reports. And that's one of the reasons why Chorus is doing this the way that they are. That attorney is quoted in the article because the author of that article also had a recorded Zoom onboarding call between Chorus and multiple creators that she quoted directly from. Speaking for me, all of that seems shady. And that's not how I choose to operate in the world of social media, TikTok, YouTube, whatever. If I ever enter into an arrangement like that with an outside entity, I will be incredibly upfront about that. And as I said earlier today, I don't get a lot of invitations to do that stuff because I'm not a registered Democrat and because I go after both parties pretty hard, especially the APAC wing of the Democratic Party, with whom I have a lot of problems right now, as do a lot of the people who comment on my videos. I'm not going to shill for those people at all. And obviously, I'm never going to create content for the right. I mean, give me a break. But so that comment is incorrect. But, if you guys want to fight it out some more in the comments, have at it. I've said what I want to say on this subject area, and I'm moving on to other stuff. So, whatever, I hope everybody enjoys the rest of their evening.